Hello, this is Seth from the REtipster blog. The reason I wanted to make this video today is because I know that there's a very common issue that I deal with pretty much every single time that I'm trying to make an offer on a piece of vacant land, and I know it's something that a lot of you land investors deal with as well, and it's the issue of how to find the value of a parcel of vacant land. How do you actually come up with a realistic, down-to-earth idea of what that property's market value is? Unfortunately, I think I've found over the years there's really no rock-solid bulletproof way of coming up with a official value, but there are a lot of different ways that you can go about coming up with a reasonable, realistic approach and an idea of what any particular given property may be worth. Now, truth be told, there are actually a lot of different things that I look at when I'm coming up with that number, but one of the things that I have relied on heavily is Trulia, which is just this free website that you've probably heard of. It's kind of like Zillow, but I think Trulia is a little bit more optimized for the purpose of looking at vacant land. At least as of the time of this recording, whenever I look at Zillow, I don't see any really rock solid ways to actually carve out only the properties that are land. And if there is a way of doing that, somebody tell me, because I'm not seeing it. But if we go back to Trulia, you can see right here on the front page, it gives you this drop down and you can actually choose lots and land. So I'm going to do that and just show you an example of how I do this in just an area that's not too far from where I live in Cedar Springs, Michigan. And what I like about this is, first of all, you can look at this with the map view. And the essence of the problem when it comes to value in vacant land is that really, in order to do this and do it well, you need good, accurate comps, comparable properties that have actually sold in the not too distant past. And the problem is, if we go right up here to recently sold instead of just the ones that are for sale, these are all the vacant lots in this area that have recently sold. And look what we've got. We've got 2 or 3 of them right here. And unfortunately, this just doesn't tell us a lot. I mean, these properties are probably completely different. I mean, it's just not enough data. I mean, I can't look at this and it just doesn't really tell me anything. What I do have plenty of are lots that are for sale, as you look through here. And the nice thing about this is that this doesn't necessarily tell me what properties have sold for, but it does tell me if I were to try to list my property for sale today in this area, these are the kind of properties that my competition would be. I mean, if I wanted to create a good, compelling deal that just looked awesome compared to all the other properties on the market, I would basically have to make my property look better than any of these, given what my property's size and characteristics and what you can do with it. Obviously, I mean, just from this approach, we can see where the properties are located. You can click on any of these listings and actually get the full details on it. One of the things that I love to do after I see this this map here is go up here where I can see lists. And what this does is it takes all those same properties and puts them in list form, only I can sort it by the price from lowest to highest. And what it does is it takes, just exactly what it says, the lowest to highest price properties. It's basically telling me this is the cheapest, least expensive buildable lot in this area. And I can just sort of look at this and compare it to the property that I'm looking at and figure, hey, can I make my property look better than this? Can I take better pictures? Can I come up with a better price? Can I offer better terms? Is there something that I can do, or multiple things I can do, to really make my deal look a lot better than all of these if I'm to list them for sale today? And when it comes to finding the actual value of a parcel of vacant land, again, this doesn't really tell us a concrete number or anything like that, but it does tell us what we're up against. And I mean, as we're thinking through a deal and whether or not we want to purchase a property so that we can resell it in the future, this basically tells us what we need to keep in mind, because this is really what we're going to have to deal with on the back end when we're trying to sell it. If we determine that, we're just not going to be able to put together a deal that looks better than all of these other ones, or basically can't even compete with them, then that may indicate to us maybe we shouldn't be pursuing that deal. So admittedly, this is not actual concrete, sold comps. So it's not that good, but it's really the next best thing. And it's still pretty relevant because, I mean, this is the inventory that's on the market. And this indicates, how hot land is right now in this area. I mean, is there a lot of inventory? And what's it priced at? And what kinds of things are you going to have to offer to make your deal look better than all of these? Now, let me just show you one other thing here. Another little trick that I've used over the years is I've tried to come up with, a reasonable value and conclusion on what a property's worth. Something that I've done a lot in the past is I actually call local real estate agents in the area and I ask them, I'll even tell them, the property that I'm looking at. And I don't necessarily tell them all the details or, the deal that I have it under contract, but I just tell them just kind of a high-level overview, and I ask them, if you were to list this thing for me today, what would you list it at, or what would you say it has to be listed at if we wanted this thing to be sold within 6 months from now? And I basically just present the question to them like that, because not only does it tell them that I'm motivated to get this thing sold ASAP, but it also tells them that, if they give me the time of day and if they're willing to help me out, I may consider working with them and having them list it for me. So it kind of tells them, I'm not just some tire kicker. I'm actually interested in doing business with them. And just so you know, the way that you can find these people and give them a call is usually at the bottom of all these listings, it'll either have a list of these people with just random phone numbers that you can call, and these are agents in the area, or it will have the actual agent who listed this property itself. And the fact that they're listing a vacant land property means that, guess what? They probably know a thing or two about listing vacant land. Usually when, lots are listed like this, it tells you that this person probably knows a thing or two about land. So just keep in mind that even though a lot of the data that would really be nice to have and that most investors are accustomed to having, even though that's not really available for vacant land properties, there's still actually a lot of information out there that we have at our disposal for free. And just so you know, if you look at pretty much any market in the US, 9 times out of 10, these kinds of comparable properties that are listed for sale are going to be there. Of course, these sellers could have their property listed for a ridiculous price and be out of their mind, but it still tells you who your competition is, and it still gives you access to some pretty competent real estate agents who know a thing or two about land, and they can actually give you a pretty realistic idea of what you should be listing that particular property for if you want the thing to sell. So if you're trying to nail down the value of a vacant land property, those would be 2 pretty powerful suggestions that I'd have for you. Give it a shot, do some research, make some calls, and I think you're probably going to walk away from that with a much better idea of what your particular property is worth. Thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best.